You're started. Great. Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 3 of our biggest event for the year as we bring together our largest gathering of leaders in the Caribbean to discuss many of the issues of corporate governance. I am Kamala Rampersad da Silva, Chief Executive Officer of the Caribbean Corporate Governance Institute. We are live on YouTube today, which will run for about 15 to 20 minutes, and this would also be run on our social media pages. So welcome to everyone in the room and also those joining us on the live stream. In this, our 5th year, we will focus on the critical theme of regenerative capitalism, promoting exceptional governance for small states. And we are delighted to have had a really successful opening ceremony on Sunday, with the opening keynote being delivered by one of the world's most influential voices in corporate governance today, Professor John Elkington, who joined us from his home in the UK. We are heartened by the responses to Governance Week, both by our sponsors and the willingness of over 50 of our business leaders to share their time and expertise as we discuss topics that are critical to the quality of our lives, as well as that of our children and grandchildren. Yesterday, we ended a successful day 2, which began with a valuable presentation on the relationship between board and management by Dr. Dion Chamberlain Miranda from Belize. She was followed by 3 really good panel discussions. On Monday, we began the week with A. Cecile Watson from Jamaica, who gave a very insightful presentation on executing the board strategy. Today, we move our focus to governance of the public sector. And before we get to today's opening presenter, Jason Farley from Guyana, I want to thank all of our sponsors for Governance Week 2024. As you would have seen from our opening sponsors video, we have 2 gold sponsors. First, Citizens Bank and the Massey Group. We also have 5 bronze sponsors, Angostura Limited, Republic Bank Limited, the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago, PwC, and G.A. Rowe & Sons Limited from Belize. Each of our sponsors are bundle members of CCGI, and we appreciate their additional support. So to those of you here today who are not yet members, we wish to remind you that the Caribbean Corporate Governance Institute is a nonprofit membership organization, and we welcome everyone who wishes to join us in our pursuit of our purpose of improving corporate governance practices in the Caribbean region. Today, our membership includes persons from Jamaica, Barbados, St. Lucia, Guyana, the British Virgin Islands, St. Martin, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Canada, Trinidad and Tobago, and last year we welcomed for the first time members from Belize. There are lots of benefits to being part of a vibrant organization like ours, including benefiting from discounts to our training programs. So if you're not yet a member, do consider joining us and actively contribute to the conversation on how we can improve leadership and governance to achieve sustainable outcomes. Persons may join as individual members, or your companies may choose to pay for bundle membership, which can cover from 6 to 12 members. Today, as we proudly continue our signature event, Governance Week 2024, this will continue until Friday, 21st, with an opening presenter each day, followed by 3 panel discussions. The other opening presenters, tomorrow we have Aile McGlynn from Curacao, and on Friday, Derek Rajak from Trinidad and Tobago. Every day, these are followed by 3 panel discussions. Today, after our opening presentation by Jason, we have the first panel from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. on advancing the agenda on the climate emergency. Our moderator is Cavell Joseph Santoma, and our panelists, Ali Matalon from Jamaica, Omar Mohammed from Trinidad and Tobago, and Alison Delan Chibilige from the UK. Panel 2 begins at 3 p.m. and ends at 4:30. The focus is on people and improving the social impact. Moderator is Michelle Loban Clark from Barbados, and the panelists are Ian Forbes from Trinidad and Tobago, Sadia Yaha from Guyana, and Janice Lemon Creaky from Trinidad and Tobago. We end today with our third panel from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m., where the focus turns to sustainability and regional development. Our moderator is Saron Bailey, Corporate Secretary of CCGI from here in Trinidad and Tobago, Robbie Rambaran, one of our directors who is in Guyana, Afra Raymond from Trinidad and Tobago, as well as David Small from Trinidad and Tobago. So you can expect tremendous learnings and insights from them, and in fact from the 50 plus panelists and speakers who are participating over the 5 days. You should all have received detailed agendas for the week, but if you didn't, please email us at info@caribbeangovernance.org and we will be sure to send it to you. I would also like to briefly share on some of our upcoming events and workshops. On Monday, July 8th, Dr. Chris Pierce from the UK will be taking us through how a good board is run. Dr. Pierce brings global experience to us and is a very effective trainer in the online environment. So I encourage you to register and not miss the opportunity to interact with him. Then on Tuesday, July 9th, Lara Quentrell Thomas will be conducting a workshop on building executive presence in the boardroom. This would be quite valuable for young executives who have joined boards and even those aspiring to be directors. We have 2 workshops for deepening your understanding of financials. Howard Dutton will conduct financial stewardship for non-finance directors on Wednesday, July 17th. And Janita John from South Africa will conduct a 3-day workshop on identifying fraud, red flags in financial statements in early September. All of these are online, so you can easily participate. Also, most of you will know by now that we are planning an exciting week of activities in Guyana from November 19th to 23rd this year. There will be 2 physical workshops. The first on insurance and risk on Tuesday, November 19th. The second runs for 2 days, Wednesday, November 20th and Thursday, 21st on governance and compliance. Both will be facilitated by Claire Gomez Miller, and the second workshop will include a simulation from Harvard Business Publishing, which I will help facilitate. Then on the Friday, we host a panel discussion on effective board papers, which is geared specifically to our corporate secretaries network, but we invite everyone who has any relationship in the boardroom to please also attend that workshop, after which we'll have a book signing ceremony by Professor Bob Garrett before we enjoy some unique Guyana games around a bonfire by the lake. The week culminates with a governance dinner and end-of-year networking event on Saturday, November 23rd, when the opening keynote will be our beloved Professor Bob Garrett, CCGI's Global Ambassador. All of these events will be held at Splashman's Resort, which is a beautiful and unique facility built around a man-made lake in Georgetown. Registration is already open. We are offering a special package for room and meals for the weekend and are given first preference to previous participants of our end-of-year event. Space is limited at Splashman's, so we encourage persons to please book your spaces before the end of July, because after this, we will open it to everyone for registration. And now I would like to make a few brief housekeeping announcements. I know many of you here have been attending CCGI events over the period of time, and you are familiar now with these rules. But just to ensure that we are all on the same page, we ask that everyone has their name correctly captured on their screens. This is because we are in a virtual room, we are not in a webinar, and therefore everyone is able to freely engage with the other participants. And so it's important for us to ensure everyone is easily identifiable. We also ask everyone to keep their microphones on mute during any of our Q&A questions later on during the day. If you wish to make a comment or you are invited to speak, please unmute yourself. But as soon as you're done, do mute your mic again to minimize any disruptive noises in the background. And of course, as I always remind you, you are free to make comments and ask questions in the chat feature, which will be brought to the attention of the moderator. And now, as we move forward with today's agenda, to further set the context, I would like to share some thoughts. In the book, Why Nations Fail, it is argued that the violence and bloodshed in our history has embedded itself into the psyche of our people, contributing to the challenges faced over the last few generations. Today, it manifests in our governance structures and practices and is exhibited in high levels of crime, corruption, weak government institutions, and even poor corporate behavior. The Smart States Club, a book by a former president of Armenia, published in January this year on how small states can change the world, offers a shining light for the future. In this book, Mr. Armen Sarkisian gives a personal account of his interactions with leaders of these small countries, which have faced similar adversity, but which currently prosper because of choices made by their leaders to make a positive difference. These include Botswana in Africa, Ireland in Europe, and Qatar in the Middle East, as well as his country of Armenia, which had been under Russian control as part of the USSR. Each of these countries have demonstrated how possible it is to emerge victorious despite adversity and limiting beliefs, which is another way to say mental slavery. Today, our world requires us to be innovative, creative, and brave, but more so to act with integrity and honor in bringing the kinds of changes so necessary to save the planet and make people's lives better. As we focus on our theme of regenerative capitalism, promoting exceptional governance for small states, we are encouraged to think about how each of us can individually, positively impact our world. For Governance Week 2024, our challenge is to address how we take charge of our destiny and build a bright future that embraces the triple bottom line of people, planet, and profit. This, after all, is the basis of a capitalism that does not exploit, but seeks profitable organizations that utilizes and restores resources, leaving it for future generations. So having set the context with those opening remarks, it is now my pleasure to invite our key speaker for this morning. And he is Jason Fally. Jason is an experienced aviation professional for over 28 years. He has worked in both private and public sectors in Guyana and Antigua. Jason is currently employed with the Guyana Defense Force and serves as chairman of the board of directors at Guyana National Shipping Corporation Limited. He is also a member of CCGI and is very passionate about improving corporate governance in his home country of Guyana and the wider Caribbean. I proudly welcome you, Jason, and I invite you to share your thoughts as you deliver today's opening segment as we move our focus on governance of the public sector, the state sector. Thank you. And over to you, Jason.
Thank you very much, Kamala, for your warm welcome. I'm very pleased to be part of Governance Week 2024. I believe I would have participated last year. We had some exciting moments last year, I remembered. And I'm also very pleased and happy, as you mentioned earlier, to be part of this movement that is transforming not only individual members, but communities and regional states. So today I'll be talking on governance in the public sector in the Guyanese context. And I have a presentation prepared, which I will like to share. Kamala, are you able to see the presentation?
Yes, it's on.
Thank you very much. So today, this presentation will focus on public sector governance, or how the state sector organizes itself to govern a country, with emphasis on Guyana. The presentation will also identify current practices that guide the government management, oversight, and public reportage of this sector, while highlighting some of the associated impact. And given that public sector governance is supported by principles and structure to ensure effective, ethical, and transparent functioning of public institutions, the presentation hopes to bring reason that modernization through the provision of government services will require periodical reforms to improve efficiency, systems of good governance, and accountability. I wish to point out that market demands, cultural shifts, and political uncertainties, such as geopolitical tensions, national elections, etc., oftentimes influence governments around the world to embrace private sector governance principles. Notwithstanding the aforementioned, the overall improvement in public sector performance is usually encouraged when these reforms are effectuated at the central and local government level. Just to give you a little background, the conceptualization of governance resulted out of the need for greater demand for transparency and a common will to take hold of corruption, not just in the public environment, but also in the business environment. And there's a notable impact between the stewardship and the rule of law assumption as it relates to the reduction of transgression. Indeed, the significance of governance has become apparent owing to economic conditions encountered in both developed and developing countries. And we know too well of the many scandals many countries would have experienced over the years. And so the efforts by government to improve corporate performance and sustainability through the adoption of governance principles and regulatory compliance continues to gain support because of the positive impact on national and global economies. In many countries, such as Guyana, that gained independence from British rule during the 1960s and 70s, many governments were forced to immediately reorganize and reform administrative departments that were previously governed under a traditional colonial system. Under this colonial system, the functions of government and many public institutions were structured to provide limited services, such as the judiciary, police, mail, and broadcast, with the express aim of preserving law and order within the colony. The increased involvement of Caribbean governments in the sectors of the economy in their respective countries cannot go unnoticed. And in most cases, those reasons are quite justifiable. For instance, in Guyana's case, early post-independence, the government was quite aggressive in their reform program. Areas of focus included public governance, transparency, international treaty obligations,